Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get this public hearing started on the amendment to the animal control ordinance. First go to Dave Pato, our attorney, and then Sheriff, if you have anything to add on it, then we'll go to the public. So Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you and Happy New Year. So you have before you a draft amendment to Sierra County Ordinance 2019-06 relating to animal control. These revisions came out of a request from the County Sheriff's Office. And specifically, these amendments would add the following sections to the ordinance. It would add a section 7.3, providing that if an animal shall kill or injure any pet, livestock, or poultry, the owner or keeper of that animal shall be liable for all damages that may be sustained thereby to be recovered by the party so injured before any court having competent jurisdiction. And then finally, it would add a section 8.1. The owner is responsible for all impoundment fees, veterinary fees, and attendant costs for all animals running at large. And the last amendment would be addition of section 9.9. Rendering the owner responsible for all impoundment fees, veterinary fees, and attendant costs for all dangerous dogs and potential dangerous dogs. And I stand for any questions from the board, and of course, I turn it over to the sheriff to detail the basis for the request.
Sheriff.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the reason for this request is the Commission approved the animal control position earlier, in 2024. I forget, we're in 25 now. Anyways, as we started working through this and started getting calls, our animal control officer can only enforce county ordinance. They cannot enforce state statute. That has to be a deputy. And there's some loopholes in the state statutes that we've run into with the courts on the animals killing or injuring livestock. There's no enforcement leg, so the courts won't let us actually charge that. So by having the county ordinance, we can charge it through magistrate court under county ordinance and have an enforcement leg there, as well as the fees and things we run into. If we seize an animal, the county's on the hook for the impoundment fees and everything else, not the owner, up until the court renders a verdict in the case. And so to avoid the county and the taxpayers incurring the cost on that, that's why I asked for that change to be put in there to make the animal owner responsible. And I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Sheriff. Commissioners, any questions?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins, any questions?
No, I'm good.
None. I have none. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
We'll go to the audience. Is there anyone that wants to make public comment on these amendments to the ordinance? Going once, going twice. We'll go and close the public. We'll start reading at 10 a.m. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the January meeting of the Sierra County Commission. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Day,
Here.
Commissioner Paxton,
Here.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Present by phone.
Also in attendance is County Manager Vaughn and County Attorney Pato.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Since it is your first meeting in this capacity, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico,
State of New Mexico, the zero symbol of perfect friendship among us.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, we have a lot of staff in attendance today and some members from the Fair Board. Welcome. We will get to you guys pretty shortly. First up is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to move item 8D, the Fair Board MOU, up just behind item 3, public comment, if that would be acceptable, so that they can meet other time commitments. And with that, I would move to approve the agenda as modified.
I second.
I have a motion, a second, to amend the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Going on to the approval of minutes from the December 17th meeting. Commissioners, it's in your packet. If there's any changes, now would be the time. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes from December 17th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have no one signed up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to give public comment that did not sign up? None. We will move on to the item, the direction to authorize work on the revised MOU with the Fair Board and appointing a member of Sierra County staff and a commissioner. And we will go to Manager Vaughn, and then I believe Mr. Bartu is representing the Fair Board, so we'll go to him next.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. So the current MOU we have in place with the Fair Board is from 1984, 85. So this is to get a working group together so that we can amend it and make it better for both the county and the Fair Board.
Thank you, Manager Vaughn, and we'll go to Ms. Bartu.
First of all, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners and Manager Vaughn. We, like you stated, Travis, this is very well outdated. We just are excited to build a stronger working relationship with the county and, of course, ultimately make our fair better for our children. So thank you for this opportunity. The Vice Chair and Chairman couldn't be here today. They are at work. So we're here representing and we'll stand for any questions if there are any at the time. If not, in the future, while revising the document, if there is anything that I can help with, I certainly will be more than willing to. So,
Thank you. Commissioner Paxton, anything?
I would like to add that for our group, that there's a commissioner, the manager, and the director of maintenance, Arnie Armijo, just because of the maintenance issues and the things that Ernie has a long history with all those facilities out there, so if that would be acceptable. And I would like, so that we keep some continuity, for the Fair Board to indicate who their 3 representatives would be on this, so that we can get this going. It really is in dire need of being updated.
One question I had, maybe this is a question for Manager Vaughn. I know every year we budget, I think it's like $1,200 for the fair. Is that lined out in that agreement?
Yes,
Is it? I know for me, that's something maybe we can look at. I mean, $1,200 gets you guys nothing. I mean, let's just be honest, it gets you nothing. So I definitely think that number needs to be looked at. Again, anything we can do to help with the fair, I think we should. So that's just my one ask in that MOU to look at, to increase that to however the board feels was necessary. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, Manager, Counselor, thank you for letting us be here today. I come humbly before you to request a potential project along these lines. Myself and a couple on the Fair Board involved more on the pig side, we feel that we need to upgrade and repair the wash racks. And we've talked about a couple different options. And I actually was involved welding those back in high school in '97, so they're falling apart. The gates are falling off, they're rusted, there's no shade. But I think we can do it for a relatively inexpensive cost. It's probably like a two-piece project, so we're putting together some plans now. We're gonna try to get the shade. I don't think it's a major rebuild because we have future plans doing something somewhere else and along those lines. But we're gonna try to get some pins that maybe match and that are movable, so we can remove them and change later. And that's kind of the idea. We'll come present it to you later. So this is just a request to maybe anticipate that request and save some money for us, and hopefully we can get together and. What? Yeah, the drainage is a problem, but I don't think we can fix that this year and under budget to some extent. So we'll look at that more seriously, and we may do like a volunteer day, and we can probe around out there, and maybe you guys can come look and we'll get a better plan, because I don't even know how we would deal with architects, and it's going to be more like an exploratory thing, but we'll be careful about it and we'll figure out a plan that works for all of us.
Thank you, and certainly I think the county could
Yep.
easily play a role in that, so we'll go to Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair, Commission. Yes, the wash racks have been brought up to me. We are working with the current contractor. We want to make sure whatever we do with the wash racks, we're not interfering with the bathroom. And so we do want to coordinate with them, but that is on my radar, and we are looking into that currently. So thank you.
Mr. Chair? The current plans and the contract that's been awarded has some drainage modifications to the whole 5 acres of the Fair Board grounds. So that is in the contract, and that's being done by Wilson and Associates, and it's got a drainage plan in the contract.
And to that point, and the way I understand it, it's just very temporary, just upgrade the pins and all that. Is that, so I mean, I don't see, unless we're not touching drainage, I don't think we need architects necessarily, do we? If we're just upgrading the pins themselves.
No, I don't think so either.
Well, so the way I understand it, yes, it is temporary. This is just to buy us a couple years to make it last till whenever we get the bigger project. But it's more like a cesspool right next to the wash rack, not a drainage runoff or a flood thing. It's not tied into city sewer, and it's more like a cesspool, maybe with a leach field. So I don't think it's addressed. I haven't seen your plans. I'm just guessing. But there's something where we have to like literally pump it out with a bilge pump, occasionally, and it overburns it for 3 days a year, and then after that, it's not an issue, So there may be a small Band-Aid that we can help to get by on that level too. We just have to we got to look at it. Somebody's got to put their eyes on it. So we're going to try to hopefully fix that at the same time or come up with a plan for it.
Yeah, I guess my point in that is I don't want a simple project like that to be delayed based on plans and architects. I mean, if it's a simple fix and we're just basically upgrading, and welding some pins together and, maybe getting that pumped out, I don't see the need to delay the project any. I think just a simple meeting between the county and what you guys want to do, get the plans together and the ideas together, and if it's nothing significant, I think we'll just move forward with it. That's my opinion at least, but.
Yes, Chair, that is kind of what we want to do. We just wanted to make sure that we let the contractor know what we're doing so that we didn't interfere with anything they had planned already. Just simple coordination, it could be one meeting, probably have it done.
And one thing, and I'll go to Commissioner Hopkins next, and then I'll just finish. So, Commissioner Hopkins, anything you want to add?
I've got a question. How often during the fair do we have to have the cesspool or the leach line pumped? And I know it doesn't hold a whole lot of water, so I was just curious more than anything. And I fully support this project. I think it needs to be updated.
And it's just, to keep in mind, it's just wash water essentially, but it's 1 or 2 times a day during just the 3-day part where we're showing the animals and washing them. It really just the one major day, the show day of the pigs. But
Okay.
and it's just that big manhole next to them. I mean, if you're familiar.
Right, I'm familiar with it. I remember that. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then one thing I do.
Mr. Chair, do we need a motion to move forward with this, or how do we proceed?
So we will, Commissioner Hopkins, we'll need a motion to appoint the county representatives. But before we do that, one thing I do want to bring up is something that we maybe look at. If within that plan, for the fairgrounds. If there is a smaller project identified, and, you know, as discussions happen between the Fair Board and the county representatives, if there is a project, I mean, we have access to LACTIV funds. Now, I'm not talking $1 million project, but if there's a small, you know, I'm just throwing out a number, $40,000 project, that's something I think we as a county could look at. I know we use LACTIV funds for other infrastructure projects at the county, and I think this is just an opportunity to, you know, find a smaller project that does go a long way for the Fair Board and for the fair as a whole that we can maybe put some money into. So I just want to keep that in mind, that if there is a smaller project, we do have some funds that we could look at.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Something that comes to my mind, and I know it's difficult during the fair season, especially during the afternoons, is blocking that sun. The bleachers generally face right into the sun when it's setting, and we've talked about extending that wall down. I don't think it costs a lot of money, and I don't think we'd need any engineers, but I think that's something that we need to look at as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins, and that's certainly, again, as we work through those negotiations, I know we're talking about the MOU with, you know, the agreement between the Fair Board. I think it does create an opportunity to have an ad hoc committee that just kind of sits down and here's what needs to be fixed, here's what, you know, we would like to see as a Fair Board, here's what we'd like to see as a county, and then just have those open discussions. So even though it is specific to the MOU, I think it does provide that opportunity to continue discussions.
Well, and I agree with Commissioner Hopkins, and if that's something we've talked about as a Fair Board that we need to address, and that is a problem, we're going to maybe make kind of like an à la carte list of some things, and then we'll just strategically work through it. Whatever budget allows, whatever everyone's opinion is, whatever works, common sense, because we've dealt without it, but maybe we can start chipping away at this list, so we'll put that on there and we'll see what we come up with. It may be affordable, so.
Well, and I know to Commissioner Hopkins' point, Ernie and his staff, you put up that mesh kind of deal, and I'm sure that's a pain to put up and down every year. Yeah, no, and understandably, and I just think if it's a longer-term solution, instead of having our staff continually every year go back, put it up, put it down kind of thing.
And that is on the plans, it's talked about in there to do something for that.
Pavilion.
On the pavilion on that side.
Perfect. Go ahead.
And Commissioner and Chair, and also part of that pavilion, it has been run into quite a bit, and so the poles are bent. And so that is one of the concerns we have with the stability of it, that we had the engineer look at, and they do recommend replacing the poles.
I think it was Commissioner Hopkins that ran into him a couple times. So,
I wouldn't doubt it.
or Bill, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Commissioners, anything additional?
Do we need to?
No,
designate-
We do, I just wanted, before we go to motion, just if there's anything additional. Commissioner Hopkins, did you have something?
No, I was just gonna move to appoint Vice Chair Paxton, County Manager Vaughn, and Ernie to this committee.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Vice Chair Paxton, Manager Vaughn, and Ernie to this committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, guys. If there's anything additional to close,
No, we're just really excited to work with you guys and appreciate you guys taking the time out for this. So I know you're very busy, so I'm very excited to work with you.
thank you. Commissioners, next we will go to the consent agenda, items A through F. Is there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
No questions, Mr. Chair. I move that we approve the consent agenda A through F.
I second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Presentations and reports. Item A is Years of Service Awards. We'll go to Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, I have a couple today. The first one in SCRTA with 3 years of service is Curtis Cherry. My understanding he is not in right now. Next is from the Sheriff's Department with 2 years of service is Karen Thompson. Just stay, there's lunch. Next one, also from the Sheriff's Department with 1 year of service is Tyler, I'm going to butcher his last name, but I'm just going to say Tyler D. Deliminik, okay, thank you. And one more from the Sheriff's Department as well with 1 year of service is Robert Montoya.
Thank you, Manager Vaughn.
Thank you.
Next up, we will go to department reports, and the sheriff, I see you have your PowerPoint up, so we'll go to you first.
Mayor, Commissioners, so this is something I want to start doing for the commission each year, is providing our end-of-the-year statistics and kind of operational plan going into next year, so you'll understand why I'm asking for what I'm asking for whenever I come into budget in July each year. So for 2024, if I could get the next slide, please. Just to give you an idea, we have 14 total law enforcement position. That includes myself and the undersheriff. In 2024, we had at least one vacancy all year long, and we had two that attended the New Mexico Law Enforcement Academy, so they essentially didn't affect our scheduling for a total of 6 months, and then, of course, they had the field training program after that. So we didn't see anything from them as far as affecting our coverage until November. So we operated with 10 to 11 law enforcement personnel for the majority of 2024. That included myself and the undersheriff. Next slide, please. So here's our yearly statistics. I have 2023 up there. I don't have all the statistics for 2023 like I do for 2024 because of our change in record management system and what I started tracking, kind of learning from my first year in office and growing from that my second year of office. But if you look at 2023, we had a total of 5,638 calls for service, and then we stayed pretty close to that in 24 with 5,626. One of the biggest complaints I get every year is traffic complaints, so we really changed our focus there. In 2023, we went from 1,700 and a little bit of change in traffic stops, and we doubled that to 3,702. So we are addressing the issues brought up by the citizens, and we're trying to address that. If you look over at our citations, I believe we had 522 citations issued. That's about one citation for every 7 traffic stops. Again, our main goal is compliance with the law, not just hammering our citizens with tickets, but due to the complaints continuing this year, we're going to try to hit a 1 in 5 ratio there. And we're also going to shoot for about 4,000 traffic stops, trying to deal with those problem areas, which I'll get into in my next part of the presentation. The other big jump was in arrest. Believe we had, I can't see it real good, I believe we had 184 in 23, and we jumped that up to 200 and change, 200 and almost 50 in 2024. We had 28 DWIs in 24. We led county law enforcement in DWI enforcement for that year. And then one thing that I wanted to add this year was what our investigators do. The commission was gracious enough in 23 to approve that extra investigator position for me. I wanted you guys to have an idea of how important that is. And you can see there, they were assigned 110 investigative cases. They executed, I believe it was 51 search warrants, 45 arrest warrants, and they worked 17 internet crimes against children cases. Those are the cases we get from the cyber tips. We also worked 100 crash investigations in 2024. So that was all throughout the county. Any questions on any of those numbers? Okay, you would. Next one.
Yeah.
So this is a breakdown for calls for service by location. In Elephant Butte, we handled 1,208 calls for service, 467 in Williamsburg, and 3,951 throughout the rest of the county. So it just gives you an idea of where our call volume's coming from. Next slide, please. Hours worked, we worked 20,373.5 hours and 5,219 hours of overtime in 2024 for a grand total of 25,592.5 hours. That did not include myself or the undersheriff. This is just the guys in the field getting the work done. Next slide, please. With our body cams, I have the ability, I've put up geofences on our GPS mapping so I can get an idea of where we're getting patrols out in the county. This breaks that down for you on where those hours were spent. Based on this, we have different goals set throughout the county to hit in 2024. We want to get Cochilo up over 100 hours, Winston up over 50, Hillsborough up over 200, and the others seem to be pretty spot on based on the call volume we're receiving. And that's it for my yearly stats. Any questions on any of that?
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
No.
Mr. Chair, I think the sheriff's office has been very productive and under Sheriff Baker's leadership, we made some significant changes. You've updated equipment and you've gotten things with the computers and the printers in the cars and made the department more efficient and standalone instead of people having to come to a desk to do a report and those kinds of things. So that's much appreciated. I think it shows in the effectiveness in your hours on patrol instead of on duty.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Hopkins, anything?
No, I'm good.
Sheriff, the only question I had, and I know this was brought up at the New Mexico County's Board of Directors meeting, Lexipol, have you looked into that, and is there any value to the county implementing that?
I actually have, so that's provided to us free of charge by New Mexico counties. Excuse me, I'm currently in the process of using their program to rewrite our entire policy and procedure manual, and each one of those policies will bring us in line with New Mexico County's accreditation standards. I'm actually should be finished up by the end of this month. We're hoping to go live with the new policy and procedure manual in February, and my goal is still to get accredited by New Mexico counties by the end of this year. I know we're anticipating a 5% insurance hike, and I'm hoping to offset that. If I can get accredited, we get a pretty big discount for that accreditation through New Mexico counties as they're our insurance carrier, that would offset that plus some. So I'm really shooting to get that done. The requirements are pretty stringent. The policy's the easy part. We have to show compliance with that policy throughout a period of time, and I just don't know if we're gonna have enough time to show all that compliance by the end of the year, but that's what I'm shooting for. So we're utilizing the program. We're also utilizing the online training portion of that program. It's provided to us free of charge from New Mexico counties, and we're taking full advantage of it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
That's all I had. Anything additional, Mr. Malcolm? No, thank you, Sheriff.
All right, I had one more part.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the next part of my report is on the Urban SDK. This is the traffic data analysis that we're utilizing to focus in on these traffic complaints throughout the county. And basically, I just wanted to give the commission an overview of what this does. So this is the map that it gives us. Each one of these roads is marked throughout Sierra County. You'll see a bunch of them are gray. Most of those are two-track roads somewhere in the Gila or out on somebody's ranch somewhere. But it does show them all, and it gives us a pretty accurate data tracking through the GPS of the vehicles of what the average speed are. It gives us the 95th percentile, 85th percentile, and times of day, days of the week that we're having these traffic issues. We're utilizing this to target those areas based on the data on what times of day, days of the week, and where those traffic or highest probability of traffic problems are, to focus our patrols to get the biggest bang for our buck as we're moving through this. It also provides us average use, so how many vehicles on the roads. We're working with Manager Vaughn and Mr. Neely at the road department so they can work on being more efficient in our road maintenance and which roads are getting the most traffic, which months out of the year. We have 12 months of aggregate data we can pull up by each month and go through and see which roads get what traffic and which roads have what speeding issues at what time of the year. So it's pretty amazing. It would be another 2 hours of me standing up here and everybody'd get mad if I went through the whole thing. But this is available if any of the commission wants to come in and look up specific data from any complaints they're getting. I encourage you to reach out to me and we can pull that data up and communicate with that constituent.
Commissioner, excuse me, Commissioners, any questions on that?
No, thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
See, Madam Manager, I believe we have a new department head.
Yes.
And so we'll ask him to come up, but I want you to just kind of introduce him.
Thank you, Chair, Commission. Yes, we do. We have a new detention administrator. His name's Patrick Flores. He started actually yesterday, so welcome. And he's going to go ahead and just tell you a little bit about himself.
Good morning. Clerk Whitehead, Commissioners, Mr. Paxton, Mr. Day, Mr. Hopkins, and Manager, Ms. Vaughn. I come before you today to introduce myself. My name is Patrick Flores. I have 18 years in a correctional setting. I am honored and excited to be part of this county as the detention administrator. My officers and my assistant have been very supportive in my transition to administrator, and I wanted to personally thank each and every one of them for all they do. I have an amazing team I am working with, and I am looking forward to what the future is going to bring. As of right now, I am reviewing and revising, reviewing policy right now, I'll be revising, and I will do the very best I can to provide any service the sheriff needs or any of you all need. And is there any questions?
Commissioners, any questions?
No, just Director Flores, welcome. We're glad to have you and Godspeed.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
See, Candy, anything from the treasurer's office?
Okay, so we are at, good morning, everybody. I should say that first. And I hope everybody had a great conference. I know we did. We had some great affiliate meetings. Lots of good updates, and the assessor and I are working closely to make sure that things are done in a timely manner with the veterans' changes and things like that. So we will be sending out delinquent postcards in February for anybody that missed their first half or anybody that's past delinquent. And it just says, oops, did you forget? And we get a really good response whenever we send that out. So hopefully everybody will be getting theirs in. Currently, we're at 65% collection, which we're on target. And we are changing in the treasurer's office to positive pay through Citizens Bank, which makes our banking more secure. And we're working with admin to make sure that everything goes smoothly. We have already started the RDC running the checks through remote deposit capture. And we have a meeting with Amber and Jessica and Monica and all of my staff on Wednesday to learn the new program as well. So we'll be working on that. Any questions?
One question, maybe this is for Manager Vaughn or for you. The veterans exemption has kind of got everyone in New Mexico scrambling right now about the fiscal impact that that's going to play, not only on counties, but I know we have a representative from Sierra Swamp Water, but our political subdivisions. Do we have an idea of how much of an impact that's going to play on budgets?
Chair, Commission, according to the assessor's calculation, it's going to be over $600,000 is the impact. We will use yield control, which will then even it out, which will could increase property taxes for other residents.
And I guess the question would be, I mean, I know this came up in New Mexico County's meeting, but are we informing those political subdivisions that also collect property taxes about the potential impact to them?
Yes, we will be, Mike and I just met yesterday. We will be sending out notifications. I don't know if all of you saw the flyers and the inserts that we put in the city increases this year. We will be doing something similar to that as well, and just informing people of everything that will be taking place, as we know.
Yeah, and that's.
You know, because right now it's still up in the air.
No one really knows.
Yes.
And so I know I heard one county is potentially 1.6, 1.7 million.
Yes.
Of an impact. So I just want to make sure that people are aware, for those that see a little higher tax bill. But Attorney Pato, do you have something you want to?
Mr. Chairman, only note that I believe that it was Manager Vaughn that had sent me the legislative guide that was provided to the legislatures in support of this resolution before it was, passed by the legislature and submitted to the voters of the state. And in that, it did note that yield control would even out the financial impact to the local government bodies, which just simply means, like Amber said, that it's going to be spread amongst everybody else. So at this point, we don't know whether or not they're going to apply it retroactively or prospectively, and we hope that they apply it prospectively, because certainly we didn't put that money aside, not knowing how the voters were going to vote on this and not knowing that it was going to be presented to the voters in the first place. So, but ultimately, yes, we really don't know. No one knows what the financial impact's going to be. And we're just going to have to wait and see what the legislature does this session and see if they're going to make it prospectively or apply prospectively, and how they're going to utilize yield control to lessen the burden on the local government bodies.
Thank you, Attorney Pato. I mean, that was my other thing, just so people are aware kind of what's going on, because I know it's across all 33 counties. There's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what the hit's going to be. We don't know how we're going to manage this. And so I just want everyone to be aware that there's probably going to be changes coming, just to let people figure it out before freaking out.
And there's going to be a huge input process on the assessor's end, so we have offered our services as well to help them if we can. That way we can get it finished in a timely manner. So.
Thank you. Go to Mickey next with SCRTA.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Manager Vaughn. Our next scheduled SCRTA board meeting will be February 19th. And I guess the only update I have right now is I attended the legislative meetings, our affiliate, and I do know that Senate Bill 137, which is called rename of the Enhanced 911 Act, is where we're requesting that 99-cent increase to the surcharge. And so I may have to do a couple of trips up there. The first committee it's going to is the Senate Tax, Business, and Transportation Committee. So it's actually going to start moving, which we're real pleased about. Our other bill on the reclassification of our dispatchers has not gotten a number yet. Senator Gallegos has the draft. But I think the stall right now, again, is we're waiting for Paris study. Para's needing to do their study. So, and we've heard some riff that Para really is fighting this, but we have a lot of support from law enforcement, EMS, fire, emergency services, so we're really hoping that this will be our year. So, and that's all I have, sir.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Mickey. Let's see, next we'll go to Keith.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Manager Vaughn. Business as usual. We had some more applications for addressing throughout the county. Lakeshore Highlands seems to be a hot spot right now for at least leveling of lots. I see a new lot come out at least once a month on the way home. Well drillers have been in the area quite a bit lately, so there should be some new homes popping up out there. I also attended the legislative conference, the affiliate meetings. We did have a joint meeting with the 911 directors discussing the surcharge, so we're really hoping that goes through to provide some additional funding to our GIS and 911 departments through DFA. That should help with some financial assistance to mainly the PSAPs and their operations. Outside of that, we do have another claim of exemption submitted yesterday, so that'll be on the next meeting. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? No. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Ernie.
Morning. Morning. We, starting off with the fair barn out there, we've had a few leaks. There was a big one behind the Quonset hut that was back there. It went on for a little while before it was noticed by anybody. Got that fixed, and I went ahead and left the meter off on that since nobody's using that. We had one behind the Albert J. Lyons, an elbow blew out on the main line coming in. Weird, never seen that. It didn't crack it, it just blew a section of the pipe out. So we got that fixed up and all taken care of. The heating and cooling issue out there, I've got a quote from a contractor, local contractor, but I have gone to the state pricing agreement and in contact with a contractor out of Albuquerque. I have sent him all the information he needs from me, and we've been emailing back and forth, so once I get that quote from him, I'll come see Amber about that. And we are working on that, trying to get that replaced. As far as that, we had a leak at the ball field down there where they put the faucet in. It didn't freeze, it just came apart where they put the faucet in, the glue just failed on it. So we got that replaced yesterday, and I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioners, any comments, questions? None?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Go to Road Department.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good morning. How are you guys today?
Morning, Josh.
Morning. So, it's been a pretty slow month so far. We didn't do anything really major. A little dirt work on Trujillo Road down in Array. We got a few calls about it roughing out. Got that capped up with some crusher waste. Hopefully that'll fix that problem until we get a more permanent fix on that road. We had a culvert that blew out on top, just past Willards on Las Palomas Canyon Road. So, guys got that fixed up pretty quick. So, yeah, other than that, that's really what the road guys have been up to, just patching up little stuff and waiting for project money to come in so they can go to work. So I'll stand for any questions.
Questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Manager Vaughn, anything to report?
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I have a couple items. One, this was our first meeting on YouTube, so we have moved to YouTube as well. It's on Facebook and YouTube. We wanted to kind of do a test run this time. We will be advertising it more on YouTube. That way, folks who do not have Facebook will have a way to watch our commission meetings. The other item I have is the Emergency Operations Center. As you guys remember, we did receive some congressionally directed spending money. It's about 600 and some thousand plus a match. The county has already paid for the design. We do have a meeting with the governor's office to ask for the remaining funding, which is about 2.6 million. So hopefully we can get that and get the EOC underway, because the congressionally directed spending money does expire March of 2027. And that is all I have.
Commissioners, any questions?
Mr. Chair, two things. I attended the New Mexico County's insurance board, and just for the public's information, we have no insurers who will give us quotes to insure in New Mexico. We are currently using a self-insurance program through the we actually have an LLC in Utah, is it not, Dave?
That's correct, the captive reinsurance.
But what we're doing is we're assessing insurance fees to each of the counties based on what happened last year. We had an excellent record in Sierra County. We had one workman's comp claim, and I don't believe there was anything else, vehicle accidents or anything that was under the insurance umbrella. But still, because it's proportioned out across the counties, we had a 5% increase, and that amounts to $68,000 that's going to cost us more for insurance. The cost of inflation affect county budgeting and county management significantly, and the rising cost of insurance are something that our state's working on and our New Mexico counties is working on to help us. So the other thing is we have a Spaceport Tax District that is representatives from Doña Ana County and Sierra County, and two governor-appointed representatives that live in the district. And we are working to try to get some money to Spaceport. And one of the problems we ran into is the State Investment Council that the Spaceport Act mandates, that goes back to 1996, is that all investments be through them. And those are large volume, large value investments, and they have to be for a minimum of a year or so. I'm the chair of the Spaceport Tax District, and I requested if Crystal would be interested in carrying legislation to amend the Spaceport Act to allow us to invest in the local government investment program. And so she had the legislative writers draft up a bill, and Dave Pato worked with them, and we've got that, and it's being entered into the legislative program today in both the House and the Senate. Rebecca Dow is sponsoring it in the House, and Crystal Diamond in the Senate, or Brantley now. So that's moving us forward in a very positive manner, and I think that we'll continue to try to support Spaceport to continued development and build out and make that more economically viable for the future. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Paxton. Commissioner Hopkins, anything to report?
Well, I just got a question for Manager Vaughn and maybe the sheriff. Where are we as far as the speeding issues up in Winston?
Go ahead, Sheriff, you're going to take that one.
And I know he's explained it to me, but I want him to explain it again if he doesn't mind.
No, Commissioner, I can answer that real quick. So we did our own traffic study. I sent a deputy up there for 7 consecutive days. He put in 5 hours logging all the vehicles on the road in question and their associated speeds. And then we have the average. That was what I emailed out to each one of the commissioners. The daily average on traffic was 26 miles an hour. There were cars coming through that were speeding. The largest majority were within 5 miles an hour of the speed limit, with some outliers that were above that. And then the urban SDK averages showed the exact same. Their average was 26 miles an hour. So we're working with the residents up there on some enforcement legs and coming up with some plans for some extra signage and other ideas that we can present to Manager Vaughn and potentially the commission to address some of these issues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anything additional, Commissioner Hopkins?
No.
Thank you. The only thing I have to report is, of course, at the conference, we had the New Mexico County's Board of Directors meeting. I think 2 things really came out of that meeting that were really big. The first one being the discussion on IPRA. The legislature is looking at the Inspection of Public Records Act and trying to have an honest discussion about how this has been weaponized against local governments. And there's a couple of very powerful sponsors that are going to be carrying a bill to help, I don't want to say weaken IPRA, but just put some constraints on it. And the story has always been brought up. There's an individual in Hobbs that's in the jail that has sued every county in New Mexico because he's asking for business cards with the sheriff. He's asking for contracts, phone numbers, just ridiculous. And then he's suing the counties when the counties can't get him that information. So there is some discussion about IPRA. I know I'm looking at one, the Municipal League did a study. New Mexico counties tag teamed onto that study just to be able to give the legislature an idea of this is what we're dealing with every day. I know law enforcement is probably one of the biggest hit departments across New Mexico. And Sheriff, I don't know if you want to speak on how it's impacted you.
Yes, Commissioner. So the biggest issue we're having is the for-profit, probably the most aggravating for me, is we will get hit with somebody in Florida will IPRA us for all reports for the last 3 years that involve resisting arrest, battery on a peace officer, pursuits, any of the quote-unquote juicy type calls, and then they will go through those reports, and then they will send us another IPRA for all the body camera and video footage associated with those, and then they utilize those on their websites, garner views, and they're making profits off these IPRAs on the back of New Mexico taxpayers, Sierra County taxpayers. Again, I have a 14-man law enforcement department. I have 4 civilian employees, and it's extremely overly burdensome to follow through with these. Another one we're dealing with is colleges are sending us IPRAs on our Operation Stone Garden or any grants that we're doing, and they're wanting years and years of data, how many deputies worked, how many hours. It's tying up administrative personnel so that they can put this aggregate data together. And it's overly burdensome, and it hits us smaller agencies extremely hard whenever I have one person who's trying to answer all of these IPRAs, and we may have 1 or 2 people at admin who can research the data that they're asking for on salaries and how many work hours to what dollars, total dollars over a 3 or 4 year time period. So it's a major problem. All the other sheriffs are experiencing the same thing. The larger agencies now have full-time staff that's all they're doing is answering these IPRAs. We don't have that capability, and so it is a problem, and it is being abused.
I think the craziest story I heard was attorneys asking for traffic reports for accidents and then reaching out to the people in the accident wanting their business and saying, we could represent you in a lawsuit during that accident. So, I mean, it is being extremely weaponized. And so hopefully we can get some traction on tackling IPRA moving forward. I believe it was Sandoval County sent in their proposal, and it was kind of change everything, redo IPRA, and that one has not gotten any traction, but I know there's a collaborative group between New Mexico County's Municipal League and higher education to help slowly tackle this issue and do it long-term versus just one whack of changing IPRA completely. So that was the biggest, big one. The other one was paid family medical leave. New Mexico counties in the past has stayed neutral on that piece of legislation, and strategically, rightfully so. This year, the board actually voted to oppose that bill. And it was a 26-4 vote, and there's 3 individuals missing from that meeting. And so it didn't matter if you were Republican or Democrat. I think everyone on that board realized, here's how it's going to impact the counties. And not only that, a lot of the commissioners spoke about, here's how it's going to impact our small businesses in New Mexico. So overwhelmingly, New Mexico counties, the board voted to oppose that bill. Did pass the first committee as anticipated yesterday, but New Mexico counties is working on it, which is a huge player at the table to help oppose that bill instead of just trade organizations and private businesses. So hopefully we can work collaboratively and get that stopped, because it does impact our county, and I think Manager Vaughn already has some ideas on how to combat that. So I don't know if you want to talk about that or not worry about it until it comes.
Well, if you would like me to discuss
Go
some of the
ahead.
ideas, I mean, based on the legislation that was put in last year, it was going to cost the county over $50,000 for the Paid Family Medical Leave Act. Depending on how the bill is written, if they do have an exemption clause or a way to design our own program that would meet the needs, I would rather administer it internally as opposed to letting the state administer it. And those are kind of some of my ideas.
And I think that's an important deal, because a lot of counties, I think, are looking at that, which means the solvency of the program falls 100% on the backs of small businesses if most local governments create their own program. So extremely dangerous bill, I think has huge implications on local government, huge implications on private business, and so we'll just continue to monitor that, and hopefully we can find some sort of compromise with the sponsors, or hopefully better to get it stopped. But I think if there's some opportunity there to have some compromise, that's, I think, the end goal for New Mexico counties. That is all I had, that really came out of those discussions. So if there's nothing additional to that. Oh, go ahead.
Chair, I do have the Office of Emergency Management report to give real quick. There are 2 items that I think would be of interest. The U.S. Forest Service fire teams burned the Poverty Creek slash pit on Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. And Kingston community meetings regarding the next phase of the Fuels Reduction Defensible Space Project is scheduled for Wednesday, February 5th at 4 p.m. at the Black Range Lodge in Kingston. Thank you.
Next up, we will go to the Flood Commissioner Annual Report. I don't believe we have representation.
No, we do
So
not.
we will move on to item D, the 2025 fire season and prescribed fire plan.
Unfortunately, they didn't join us
No
as well.
representation.
Yep.
We will go on to the Board of Finance then, the December reconciliation. Commissioners, is there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the December reconciliation.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the December reconciliation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have no old business on the agenda, so we'll go on to new business. We have items, we'll just do them all together, Commissioners, if that's okay. We have the 2026 SP, SB, and CAP funding request. We'll go to Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. These items we approve every year. These are 3 projects from NMDOT. The first one is a request for $272,527. This does have a match, so the county's portion would be $68,131 and some change. The roads that they are looking at working on are County Road 51, Lost Canyon, and Cattleman for that project. And if there are any specific questions, Josh is here to answer those.
Commissioners, any comments, questions?
No, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the SP request for funding, SB request for funding, and the CAP request for funding.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 3 requests for funding. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We already went through item D, so we'll go on to item E, appointment of board and committee members. So commissioners, I will just open it up to whoever wants to drop some or put some on.
I want to give all mine away.
So do I. Commissioner Hopkins, you good with, you taking?
I agree,
ours?
I agree. I'll give all mine away too.
Mr. Chair, two items, if we can. It isn't shown that you're the New Mexico Board of Directors representative. If we can add that, I think that's pretty important for that continuity, and that is the chair's position, so I'd like to add that. And I am shown as the New Mexico County Insurance Authority voting member. I think that about this time last year, that we, because of her experience and her knowledge of insurance, we asked for Manager Vaughn to be in that position and me be an alternate. And the lady at NMC, Cynthia Stevenson, never got that into the files. So we need to go back to her and confirm that Amber is the voting representative and I'm the alternate on that. Those are the only two changes that I have.
Commissioner Hopkins, any changes you want to see?
No, Mr. Chair.
None. And just one clarification, Vice Chair Paxton, on the New Mexico counties, that is elected, it does not have to be the chair. So it's elected by all the elected officials in the county. So I mean, it could be put on the list, it's not an issue. But just wanted to put that out. It could be the clerk, the assessor, the probate judge.
Okay, thank you.
But I have no proposed changes on it besides, I think just adding Manager Vaughn as the voting member to that one. Unless we want to give Spaceport Tax District to Hank.
No, thank you.
You willing to take that one on, Hank?
No, sir.
If there's no other changes, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the appointment of the board and committee members and changes necessary.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of board and committee members as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Going on to item F is the county road closure request, Space Race. We'll go to Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. In your packet, there is a request to temporarily close a county road for the space race for the spaceport. That'll be on Sunday, April 27th, 6 a.m. start to an 11 a.m. end. We have started bringing these to the commission so that they are aware and for public transparency. The specific road to be closed is AO 21 between Powerline and Discovery. It's the south end of Spaceport. So this has been reviewed by the Sheriff's Department and by the Emergency Management Department, and they have both approved, as well as myself. So if the commission is okay with it, we will approve and let them close it down.
Commissioners, any comments, questions? None, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the temporary road closure for the spaceport race.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the county road closure request. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Contracts, agreements, and procurement. Item A is the MOU between County of Sierra and the City of Tiercy for emergency management services. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This is an agreement between the City of Tiercy and the Emergency Management Office. This would cost the Tiercy $10,000 annually, but that would allow Ryan and Travis to assist Tiercy with their emergency management plans and other items as needed.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? None? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the MOU between the County of Sierra and the City of Truth or Consequences.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the MOU. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B is the First Amendment to the Local Government Road Fund Cooperative Agreement, contract number D20231. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Last year, we applied for funding, and it required a match. We did submit to NMDOT a match waiver, and they were approved, so that will save the county $61,000 for this project. It'll be covered by the state.
Comments, questions, Commissioners? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the First Amendment to the Local Government Road Fund Cooperative Agreement, contract number D20231.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item C is the First Amendment to the Road Fund for Contract 20229, Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair Commissioners. Just as the last one, this is an amendment to an agreement to waive the match requirement, and that's $48,000.
Commissioners, any comments, questions? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the First Amendment to the Local Government Road Fund Cooperative Agreement Contract Number D20229.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Going on to item D is the MES Fire Equipment SPA for the Los Palmas Fire Department. We'll go to Isaac.
Actually got the next three items. First one, for the fire department, we received a $72,000 requisition from the fire department for new gear and equipment. This is under a state price agreement, so we are all good from a procurement standpoint, but they are also giving us a steeper discount than is listed on the state price agreement, a deadline, so we are asking for a bit of a smaller, tighter turnaround on this, but everything is still all within procurement.
Commissioners, any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the MES Fire Equipment SBA Las Palmas Fire Department.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the MES Fire Equipment SBA. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Item E is the MCLL Chevy Tahoe PPV for the Sheriff's Office. Isaac.
Similar story to this one, although there is a bit of technicality on this. We approved the budget for this in December, and this is under the $60,000 for procurement, so this is not a procurement issue. However, since this is over $50,000, and that is what the county manager's approval is for, that is why we're bringing this to the commission today.
Any questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the MCLL Chevrolet Tahoe for the Sheriff's Office.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the purchase. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item F is RFP 2024-07-021 for the Hazard Mitigation Plan. We'll go to Isaac.
Yes, the hazard mitigation plan deadline was on Friday. We received 2 bids. We initially had 3, but the third contractor did not fit with their timeline. So out of the 2 responsive bids, we have a clear winner for that, and we have provided the evaluation form and leave the contract to sign as well. Do not believe there's anything else special about this. We have a very clear winner on this one. It seems like our requested vendor is very knowledgeable, and we really appreciated how detailed their proposal was.
Commissioners, any comments, questions?
No, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the RFP 2024-07-021 Hazard Mitigation Plan Notice of Award.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the notice of award. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Going on to resolutions, ordinances, and proclamations. Item A is Resolution 2025-03, appointment of chair and vice chair of Sierra County Commission. We will open it for nominations.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Travis Day being chair and Jim Paxton being vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Travis Day as chair and Jim Paxton as vice chair. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I was going to call him Vice Chair Hopkins. Commissioner Hopkins. And again, I always like to say this, that being the chair doesn't give any additional authority over the other commissioners. You simply run the meeting. So I always just like to preference that.
And you do a fantastic job, Travis.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. I think you would do a better job, but.
I don't think so.
Going on to item B is Resolution 2025-04, Sierra County Manager Authority. We'll go to Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, attached, or before you is the County Manager Authority Resolution. You consider this every year, and this outlines the authority that you provide to the county manager. You heard from Isaac just a few moments ago regarding this issue that's come up with respect to securing the approval for purchases in excess of 50, but below the 60,000 small purchase threshold. And for that reason, I'd like to request a revision to this resolution that you have before you to expand that authority to $60,000, so it's consistent with the procurement code. Otherwise, this authority grants $50,000 authority for legal settlements, which is our deductible for insurance claims, and I stand for any questions the board might have.
Commissioners, any comments, concerns about the 60,000?
Is 60,000 still the threshold for requiring contracting?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Paxton, yes, 60,000 is a small purchase threshold for the procurement code, so it would make sense to have a similar limit.
I think that that's very reasonable, and we should approve that. So I would move to approve Resolution 2025-04, adjusting the county manager's authority to 60,000.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Resolution 2025-05, Open Meetings Act. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this board is statutorily required to consider what constitutes reasonable notice on an annual basis. This resolution sets forth that this board will conduct its meetings on the third Thursday or the third Tuesday of every month. That notice is sufficient if it's posted on the county's website as well as on the front doors and provided to institutions or newspapers that request it. Meeting notice requires 72 hours notice unless it's an emergency meeting, in which case 24 hours or less may be permitted. And this resolution also finally provides that any members of the board can participate in these meetings by means of conference telephone.
Commissioners, any comments, questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025-05, Open Meetings Act.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Resolution 2025-06, Parliamentary Procedure and Robert's Rules of Order. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this resolution adopts Robert's Rules with certain important modifications. I just wanted to highlight two of them. The first is that the chairperson may make motions and shall have the same voting rights, no less, no more than any other member of the board. And as Commissioner Day noted earlier, the chairperson shall not have any administrative, procedural, contractual, or additional authority different than any other member of the board except as provided by statute. And I stand for any questions of the board.
No questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025-06, Parliamentary Procedures and Robert's Rules of Order.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Resolution 2025-08, signature, did I skip one?
Yep.
Yes.
07, public participation at Sierra County Commission meetings. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this resolution sets forth our expectations for members of the public when they're making presentation to the board as part of public comment. This board creates a limited public forum, allows members of the public 3 minutes to express their views and their opinions to the board in matters of concern, and it just requests that we're recognizing that, we acknowledge that, and we appreciate their comments, but we request they refrain from threatening and abusive comments to the board. It also sets forth our other expectations for those public comments.
There's no questions, comments. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make a note that the Open Meetings Act does not require that the county commission allow public comment, but in respect to our constituents, to provide a public forum in a formal setting, we really stand behind as a commission to have the public ability to comment, and we will continue to do so.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025-07, public participation at Sierra County Commission meetings.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Resolution 2025-08, signature authority on county checks. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, first, before I get into the meat of this, I wanted to thank Candy Chavez for helping me with the information for this resolution. This resolution designates this person designates the following individuals to sign on county checks: Candy Chavez, the treasurer; Cindy Rodriguez, the chief deputy treasurer; Janet Godfrey, clerk 2; James Paxton, District 1; Travis State, District 2; Hank Hopkins, District 3. It also identifies who can sign for LGIP transactions and on the First Savings Bank as well. I stand for any questions from the board.
Any questions, comments?
No.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025-08, signature authority on checks.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up is Resolution 2025-09, establishing depositories. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this resolution establishes depositories for Sierra County funds, investments. It's Citizens Bank located in Sierra County, First Savings Bank located in Sierra County, and New Mexico State Treasurer in conformance to the requirements of the New Mexico State statutes. And it also requires that investments be made in accordance with the statutory procedures. I stand for any questions.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025-09, establishing depositories.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Resolution 2025-10, public notice describing procedures for requests for inspection of public records. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the board is required to consider annually or to designate a custodian for public records annually. And in this resolution, the board designates the county manager, Amber Vaughn, as a custodian of public records, and also sets forth the procedures and costs for there's no cost for inspecting, but the cost for copying public records. I stand for any questions from the board.
Questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025-10, public notice regarding IPRA requests.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I think we're halfway through them, commissioners. Item I is Resolution 2025-11, opposing the abuse of the Antiquities Act. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, this resolution expresses this board's opposition to the designation of lands, whether private lands or government lands, as national monuments, wilderness study areas, wildlife reserves, open space, and other conservation land, which restricts public access to such lands and prevents the development and productive use of the resources on or within such lands.
Comments, questions, commissioners?
Much needed.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025-11, opposing the abuse of the Antiquities Act.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Resolution 2025-12, authorizing seller disposal of tangible personal property by Sierra County. We'll go to Manager Vaughn on this one.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This is one vehicle that is in the clerk's office. It's a 2018 Ford F-150. We are asking to dispose of this so that we can purchase a vehicle that better suits the clerk's office.
One question, what's the way of disposal? Are we auction or are we doing sealed bids?
I'll hand that over to Amy.
I would like to use it as a trade. We purchased it in 2018, but the miles are still low enough that I'd like to take advantage of my equity in it and put some money back in my budget. So
Perfect.
I want to trade it on a new one.
Oh, easy enough. Commissioners, any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025-12, authorizing sale or disposal of tangible personal property.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item K is Resolution 2025-13, establishing a license tax under the Liquor Control Act. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this board is statutorily authorized to impose an annual non-prohibitive license tax upon the privilege of persons holding state licenses under the Liquor Control Act that can't exceed $250. This resolution imposes that $250 tax on liquor license holders.
Comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. This second now therefore from the bottom of the page has a date of on or before July 1st, 2014. Does that need to be corrected?
Yes, it does, sir. I apologize. I will make that correction. Thank you.
2025?
Yes, sir.
With that, I would move to approve Resolution 2025-13, establishing a license tax under the Liquor Control Act.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Resolution 2025-14, budget adjustment. We'll go to Jessica.
Good morning, Commissioners. Manager Vaughn. The budget resolution I bring forward today is to amend the fiscal year 25 budget. We're adding budget for a couple of grants we received for emergency operations. The first is about $331,000 for the FY25 New Mexico Fire Protection Grant, and then $18,000 from New Mexico Gas Company for Las Palomas EMS. And the final amendment will be to correct something that was omitted in the FY25 budget for facilities benefits, about $17,000, and that's coming from the general fund balance.
Commissioners, any comments, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025-14 budget adjustment.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Next up, Resolution 2025-15, in support of the appointment of Yvette Harrell as Assistant Secretary of the United States of Interior. We'll go to Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this resolution expresses this board's strong support of Yvette Harrell being appointed as Assistant Secretary of the United States Department of Interior on the basis of her qualifications, leadership, and dedication to the people of New Mexico and the United States.
Commissioners, any comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, I think Yvette Harrell has been such a good partner. She will assist us with fair treatment, both in the oil patch and with our land management and fire issues in the west. And if there's no other comment, I would like to make a motion.
I have a motion. I will second that motion, just with one comment. I think it's important that New Mexico has representation in DC, and I think everyone underestimates the importance of that. That's a direct voice for New Mexico in DC on issues impacting not only us in Sierra County, but New Mexico as a whole. I think we had the same thing with Xochitl Torres Small at USDA, and so I certainly don't see this as a partisan deal of, R versus D, but just having that voice in DC is extremely, extremely important for us.
No, I agree with you. I think Yvette Harrell will do an excellent job serving our state.
I agree. So I do have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item N is direction to order publication of ordinance 25-001, property tax rebate benefiting low-income taxpayers. Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this board is statutorily required to consider in January of every odd numbered year a property tax rebate benefiting low-income taxpayers. And I don't believe that we have the assessor here to speak to the impact this would have on our finances, but it would be significant. I would just simply note that in light of the constitutional amendments that were passed this last November and our lack of certainty with how that's going to be applied, whether retroactively or prospectively, this would have a significant economic impact on the county's treasury. And for that reason, I would recommend the board not direct the publication and not move forward with this.
And Attorney Pato, thank you. That was going to be my question is, this commission has consistently voted it down.
That's correct.
We always have gone and did a public hearing on the ordinance, but unless there's a change in ideology on the commission, I don't see the need to even publish it at this point. So if we're authorized to do that?
Yes.
That would be my recommendation.
With that, do we even need a motion or just
I think
not
just,
address it?
I think a motion to not publish it, I guess, just to put on record, would that be?
That'd be more than adequate. Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve not publishing the direction of order publication of ordinance ordinance number 25-001.
I'll second.
I have a motion, a second, to not publish the ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up is ordinance 2025-002, amending the animal control ordinance. We'll go to Attorney Pato.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the board conducted a public hearing earlier this morning on the amendment to the animal control ordinance. It heard the changes that were going to be made to the ordinance, as well as justifications from the sheriff's office as to why these amendments are necessary, and I stand for any questions from the board.
Commissioners, I know we heard from both our attorney and the sheriff during the public hearing. Is there anything additional that came up? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve ordinance 25-002, amending the animal control ordinance.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, because it's an ordinance, it does require a roll call vote.
Okay, I was wondering. Madam Clerk, could we please have a roll call? on that one?
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Paxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
It passes. Thank you for that, Attorney Pato.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next up is executive session. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we go into executive session regarding Section 10 through 15, E through H, pending and threatened litigation, Ramirez versus Sierra County, and Estate of Tracy versus Sierra County.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Madam Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Paxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
We're in executive session. We will now come out of executive session. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we come out of executive session. There is no action, only the things itemized in the agenda were discussed.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, we have a roll call?
Commissioner Day,
Yes.
Commissioner Paxton,
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we adjourn, our next meeting will be February 18th at 10 a.m. here in this commission chambers. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion is second to adjourn. We're adjourned.